From the heartland of America, the gateway to the West, good morning, good evening, wherever you may be across the nation, around the world. I'm George Noory, and welcome to Coast AM Next Hour, Ancient Sites with Lawrence Joyce. But here's what's happening. Japan ranked its nuclear crisis as the highest possible severity on an international scale, the same level as the 1986 Chernobyl disaster, even as it insisted that radiation leaks are declining at its tsunami-crippled plant. The higher rating is an open acknowledgement of what was widely understood already. The nuclear accident in the plant is the second worst in history. It does not signal a worsening of the plant's status in recent days or any new health dangers. Dr. John Apsley with us. He's been involved in clinical research specializing in cellular regeneration, and he's with us to talk about this for a moment. First of all, John, are you hearing anything about radiation in the water here in this country?
Yes, there is readings for cesium-137 and iodine throughout both the water supplies as well as milk and other vegetables.
Now, the potential, it's the first time the Japanese said that this is as severe as Chernobyl. You believe it's 4 times worse.
Yes, it comes from 2 different documents. In all, the Nuclear Regulatory Commission just released an inner report that was made available to the New York Times that people have probably heard a little bit about. That goes into more of the gritty details. And then AREVA, which is perhaps the planet's largest nuclear power company, their executive vice president conducted a secret Stanford University symposium by invite only. And he stated at the end of their PowerPoint presentation that clearly we are witnessing one of the greatest disasters of modern times. And in that report, they go into the real facts that at least Unit 4 has been completely vaporized with their fuel rods, which equals Chernobyl by itself. As you know, there's 6 different reactor sites at Fukushima. So just by Unit 4 completely vaporizing, that equals to Chernobyl. And then it looks like, according to Dr. Richard Leahy from General Electric, who's one of the world's top experts, he says that Unit 2 has suffered either a complete meltdown or darn close. That's another Chernobyl. And if you took a look at the actual radiation measurements, the ones that aren't being released to the general public, it's 4 times greater as of March 31st than the entire time period of which measurements were taken for the Chernobyl incident. So we have up to 4 times the amount if you go by that last reading, or certainly if you go by the meltdown of the 2 different units, you've got double.
And it's still not contained, John, is it?
No, in fact, Unit 1 is going into criticality. In other words, its ongoing chain reaction occurs every time they add water in there. And this is what the blessing was. On April 6th, when the NRC report came out and said, look, you guys, you better start using boron in your water and also pumping in nitrogen, they said, because we fear that if there's a great aftershock, which occurred the next day, that we would have Japan might be gone. And sure enough, they started right away putting the nitrogen in, which got rid of both the hydrogen and the oxygen that can ignite the outer coating, which is the secret to this whole mess, what blew up Chernobyl, basically. And they also were able to slow down the chain reaction in Unit 1. Well, Unit 1 appears to be completely gone. It will eventually vaporize as well, but it'll just take a little bit longer.
You know, John, we said a month ago this was bad, very, very bad. And nobody believed us. And, of course, we've been talking to you all along. It could get even worse, couldn't it?
Well, just if you look at the 1997 study by Brookhaven, they anticipated a Unit 4-like event here in the United States, and they said that if it happens, then 137,000 deaths will result just from the lung cancer alone. This is the type of stuff that they don't want the public knowing because they don't want a panic to occur. I like to talk about it because it is something that can be neutralized to a great extent if you know how to do it.
Well, the problem is, John, how do you know? And how can you equate, let's say lung cancer develops in 100,000 Americans because of this Japanese plant problem. How do you know that is where it can be attributed to? You don't, do you? Even though you may believe it, I may believe it. How did they prove it?
Well, that's where the propagandists have their heyday. That's where the nuclear power companies can argue, make their stand that way. But if it's common sense. If you have a given population of people that have a certain known rate of lung cancer, let's say the northern half of Japan, for example, and suddenly it jumps by a certain percentage over the next 5 to 10 years, and that's the only variable, then common sense says, well, it has to be due to the plutonium and the radioactive release. But there will be pundits that will jump in there and say, oh, you have to account, and they'll drop a huge list. Well, that's just misinformation. And then the death rates go back to normal after the thing starts to cycle out. The same thing is true with breast cancer rates here in this country. It's an ongoing game.
All right, John, thanks. And continue to monitor this for us, would you? Many doctors